Live and direct. Scene? Perfect. You know, that's what you do on a Friday afternoon. You put the week behind you and you jump up in front of a microphone and you start recording and you hope that everything's working the way that it's supposed to on the back end. And I think it is, it's pretty good. I got the chat going. And so today we're broadcasting on YouTube and on LinkedIn and on X, which is normal. Those are the ones I normally do, but we are also on TikTok Live. And that's different because I've never really paid attention to the TikTok marketplace or not marketplace, but the stuff that goes on there because I didn't really have a lot going on. But I've been making some ridiculous videos lately and posting them to the TikToks, and it has gotten a few viewers. So if you're watching me on TikTok, that's fantastic, and I appreciate it. I appreciate the viewership. The only thing is I don't know how to log in to see if I'm live or not, or even to see what this looks like on TikTok. So if you're watching on TikTok, do me a favor, send me a message and let me know what's going on. Anyway, all right, that's looking pretty good. Let me open up the little web browser of justice here and see what's happening. Oh, hope everybody's doing okay. Hope everybody had a fantastic week. It has been 2 weeks since I sat down to cut an episode out just because there's just so much going on. It's one of those things where things just catch up to you. You got a lot happening, The stream's going. The stream is live. And am I able to see? Whoa, I don't want to kick feedback back into what I'm doing, but that's pretty awesome. There, looks pretty good. RTMP 1920 by 1080. Sweet. Let's go ahead and open up that TikTok live monitor. Maybe this is going to show me what I look like. Anyway, it says I'm live. So apparently I'm live, which is great. I don't know what that looks like, and I don't have any viewers. Oh, I have one. Oh, even better. Anyway, well, hi everybody. Drew Lentz, the Wireless Nerd. Today is September 12th, 2025, and it has been a week. There's been lots of stuff happening this week. Sometimes the weeks speed up and sometimes they slow down with the amount of activity that's happening. But there's been so much that's happening lately, and it just seems like it got all compressed into the last couple of weeks with what's been going on. So last week and this week, and even the one previous, there's lots of things happening. God, I mean, my mind immediately goes to what I've been reading about online. And if you're like I am, you've been watching everybody's LinkedIn, you've been seeing that Wyco London looked absolutely fantastic. I don't get FOMO a lot. Usually I get an opportunity to attend a lot of these events, but when they start happening across the pond and I don't jump over there often, it's like, oh man, that looked awesome. So Wyco Austin looked pretty good. That looked like a really good time. I'm not going to lie. I was following it on LinkedIn as much as I could, but I guess they don't broadcast it. They don't stream it. So there was no way for me to see what was going on except for the pictures that everybody kept posting. So kudos to the team, to Peter and everyone behind Wyco, the team that put all of that together. Congratulations on what looked like a tremendously successful event. I'm very, very happy for you. It's great to see the industry just moving around and these little shows that are popping up and gaining more traction. We've got the two big ones coming up in Prague, and then we've got WLPC coming up in February also. And I lay those down as my cornerstones because that feels like those are the touch points for our entire industry. If you're dealing with wireless, those are definitely the spots that you want to be at. So registration is opened up, registration sold out, registration got expanded. The stuff that's happening for Papers is coming out, or has come out for Phoenix. So man, it's just it just feels like it's moving so fast. And I think the more stuff that pops up, the more events that we have, and the more not just the events, but the more news that's happening in the industry, it really seems like it picks up pretty quickly. Let's see. So I'm still live on TikTok, which is crazy. Can't even believe I'm doing that. So where do we start? There are a lot of things that are happening in the space, and I say space because I already read one of my headlines out of the corner of my eye here. And I think that the first thing that comes to mind is what's going on with EchoStar or with Echo, or Dish Network, and that stands out to me as something that has the ability to really change the way that we consume internet access across the country and across the world. So that one's up there. I think HPE introducing their new Juniper Mist HPE AP36 access points. That really stands out to me with some of the new things that are coming out that we're finally starting to see the fruits of what has gone into that HPE Juniper acquisition. That's up there. The work that 802.11 Systems is doing in testing out access points inside their Candela containers is really cool to see. It's what I wanted to do with this rig that I have behind me, but just honestly haven't had the time to do it. So to see them independently verifying access points that are off the shelf that you can get your hands on is so cool. It's information that usually only the manufacturers have and they can keep to themselves. And now, Ferris and the team is out there just cranking, Jack and Ferris are out there just cranking it away, putting it out there for everybody to consume. It's really neat to see that. It's just that. And then the WLAN Pi Go, which I haven't read enough about to understand everything that it does. So I'm curious to see the mark that it's going to make in the wireless industry, because everything that those guys do is super impactful. And then into that comes the new addition of the N1 chip, and what the N1 chip means, not just for Apple, but what it means for our industry and what it's going to mean over the course of the next 12 months. Is it going to work the way it's supposed to work right out of the box? I'm assuming Apple did their homework, but what are we going to have to do to make our equipment work with that N1 chip if something doesn't go the way that it's supposed to? And then what access is that going to give us to one of the tools that everybody uses, which is their mobile device? How is it going to affect troubleshooting? Are we going to be able to do packet capture? Is it going to be hidden? Is it going to be blocked? Are we going to have access to the chipset? A lot of questions that we don't have all of the clear answers on yet. Luckily, in this industry, there's a lot of people that work on those teams. So hopefully a lot of that went into it. But where I do want to start is I want to start with the spectrum buyout from Echo with AT&T. So first and foremost, AT&T and Echo started talking about what they were going to do with spectrum, and it wasn't clear. Historically, EchoStar's been buying up all this spectrum. They would enter all these auctions, they'd buy all the spectrum, they'd get it and they'd grab it and they'd hold on to it, and no one really knew what they were going to do with it. And then, they got behind Boost, and everything that they did started to spark that as a different carrier for Boost Mobile. And then as spectrum became, I don't know what the correct word is. There was more spectrum to be had, but then everybody was buying it, and then the spectrum thing is weird to watch. But as spectrum became more scarce, I guess is a way to say it, Echo held on to these assets that were in a very particular space in low and mid-band spectrum of 50 megahertz of that, like a chunk of it just sitting there that they could use, but they weren't using. Then they were using a little bit of it. Then it was like they were hoarding it. Like no one really knew what was happening. And now, after a $23 billion acquisition, it's going to add 50 megahertz of low band and mid-band spectrum to AT&T's holdings, covering virtually every market across the U.S. and positioning AT&T to maintain long-term leadership in advanced connectivity across 5G and fiber. It's a lot. It's a $23 billion acquisition of spectrum. And it says it's going to be providing wireless service under the Boost Mobile brand. So this is AT&T's way to get in and take over that, I guess, that carrier, if you will, but have a lower offering that they didn't normally have. The acquisition bolsters and expands our spectrum portfolio while enhancing customers' 5G wireless and home internet experience in even more markets, John Stankey said. And, this is the guy that just got a lot of heat for his memo that he put out telling everyone that they were going to make these bold moves and they were going to move forward and they were going to really take no prisoners and do what they had to do. And everyone's like, oh, this memo's kind of like tough on the workforce and whatever. And then bam, $20 billion later, they're like, we're going to open up a new operator called Boost, by using the spectrum from EchoStar. So that was kind of cool. It's AT&T. It says AT&T will acquire approximately 30 megahertz of nationwide 3.45 gig mid-band spectrum and 20 megahertz of nationwide 600 megahertz low-band spectrum. Dude, 600 megahertz is way down there. When you think about the spectrum that you use on your cell phone, it's anywhere from 700 to 1900, 2300, 2100, 2300, up in that space. And then you get into Wi-Fi, 2400, 5000, 6000, 2.4, 5, 6 gig. Dude, you're talking 600 megahertz. That is so low. That frequency is like way down in the dirt. I wonder on that frequency space in 600 megahertz, what kind of bandwidth? I wonder let's see if we can just ask the internet, what kind of channels are there in 600 megahertz? Because, man, that's like way low. Wireless microphones, VHF and UHF on channels 2 through 36. Let's see, 617 through 652 for wireless microphones. Man, I mean, when you talk about throughput, though, when you talk about broadband, I wonder how many bits per hertz you get way down there, and I wonder what those channel sizes look like. It's LTE band 71 for 4G and 5G services. The primary use is, let's see here, it was made available by reclaiming over the air from channels 38 to 51. It's got a guard band from 614 to 616, a duplex gap at 653 to 663. It doesn't say what the channel sizes, what the operating channel sizes are in broadband, though. And I wonder, what does LTE band 71 look like? 5 megahertz, 10 megahertz? Oh, 11. 11 megahertz split usage, 4 megahertz block for license operation. So it's like between 6 and 11. There's a 6 megahertz channel at 4, 11, and a 2. And so when you think about what that's going to do from a nationwide availability perspective, man, that's kind of cool, because at that super low frequency range, it's going to give you like huge propagation, like very long propagation. The question is, what kind of throughput are you going to get at that? But if you're using it in conjunction with other frequencies and you're doing, link aggregation, oh my God, carrier aggregation, that's pretty awesome. So that happened, and it sparks the debate about how many carriers we have in the United States, and do we have enough? Is it monopolization? Because, dude, I'll tell you that my Verizon service at my house sucks. And if you've ever talked to me on the phone, you know that if I leave my office, and I'm a walker, like I'll get up and go walk around when I'm on the phone having a conversation. Man, if I walk out of my office, it drops, because there's this wall here beside me. And as soon as I get on the other side of that wall, it's just strong enough for the cell signal to seep into my room. And so my phone's like, oh, look, 5G, let me attach. And it tries to attach, and it kicks the Wi-Fi network, and then the call, you can't hear me for like a good solid 4 seconds. And that was an upgrade that they had to have done in the last 6 months, because it wasn't always like that. And I'm noticing now I'm getting 5G versus only getting LTE. So when I get home, I need to set that little command that enables my Wi-Fi only and shuts down my cellular modem, because, man, it's tough. But if you think about more spectrum and making more spectrum available to someone like AT&T, now they can reach further into these cracks and crevices of people's houses at longer distances. And if it's only those carriers, then what does that say for a marketplace? Because my phone bill is ridiculously expensive. I think everybody's phone bill is probably pretty expensive if you're not on on one of the discount plans. But I hope that my phone bill doesn't go up anymore. And I hope that there's an alternative to that coming soon, somehow, some way, shape, or form, which is a great time for me to talk about one of my sponsors, which is Helium. And, it just lends itself to the conversation, right? So one of the things that I love about my Helium plans, I've got the Helium Zero plan, and it runs on a OnePlus 11 that I have behind me. And I can use that phone pretty much anywhere. And now Helium is available with Helium Ultra, where you can install it by using Passpoint on different networks. So if you want more information about that, you can just look it up. Just either you can Google Helium, or let me see if I can get you a direct link on there. Go to helium.com, Helium, helium.com. You can go there and you can join up, and you can convert your existing hardware over to Helium. Join the movement. It says Unify, Aruba, Cisco, Meraki, Ruckus, Fortinet, and Extreme. It's equipment that supports this via Passpoint. So it tells you how to do it online. If you jump online, you configure the profile. And then once you do that, if you have a Helium device or a Helium phone, it'll automatically jump up on your network and use it by leveraging Passpoint. So it's pretty neat to see what they're doing there. Helium Plus is definitely really cool coming along. That enables monetization of your Wi-Fi using those existing pieces of equipment. So it's fun. If you don't know anything about Helium, visit helium.com. Give me a call. Shoot me a message. Let me know if you have any questions about it. It's pretty neat to see what they're doing. They're one of the fastest growing networks in the world, because what they did is they democratized it, right? I started with a CBRS device where I would hang it outside, and CBRS capable, LTE band 48 capable devices could connect to it if they were on one of the shared networks. And it was, it didn't really, I don't know if it really worked out the way everyone thought it was going to work out, but it grew really quickly for CBRS, and now they're doing it over Wi-Fi. So check it out. If you don't know anything about Helium, it's a fun way to get involved in telephony and Passpoint over Wi-Fi. So pretty neat there. And I like it because what they're doing is they're showing that you can still have all of these incredible voice services, but at a much lower entry cost. And so when you add that to the conversation of how many carriers there are out there between AT&T, T-Mobile, Verizon, and now that Boost has been absorbed by AT&T, it feels like you don't have a lot of options, but there are options out there depending on what you're trying to do with it. So I thought that was important to talk about because that was the first acquisition that took place. Well, then all of a sudden, this other one, which I think is more impactful overall, took place. And, I can do my little screen share here. Let's see if I can share my screen. Let me open up a little window here and show you what I'm looking at here. Let's see. Which is this guy right here, which is SpaceX buying EchoStar satellite spectrum for $17 billion. So Charlie Ergen's got an extra 40B in the bank, it looks like, this week. A lot going on for him. But this one has, I think, different ramifications than AT&T making the acquisition that they have, because this one feels like it can affect more people and in a couple of different ways, right? So they bought the spectrum. They agreed on this is Monday. This is earlier this week. It's going to license this out. It's going to sell its licenses for $17 billion. It's going to close once the FCC figures everything out. And its AWS-4 PCSH blocks are going to be 50 megahertz again in total for $8.5 billion in cash and $8.5 billion in SpaceX stock. So now we got Charlie Ergen tied to Elon Musk, which is interesting. SpaceX will also pay $2 billion towards existing interest payments. Okay, so they're payments on everything, and it's going to allow this to use the same AWS-4 airwaves. Okay, so this is important, right? For device to device. So now what you have is there's a bigger conversation that was taking place about who has the ability to operate in space. And before it was like the spectrum that was available for LEO and for low Earth orbiting satellites, it wasn't controlled by one person. It was controlled by multiple entities because the spectrum and the space was there to have it. However, look, here it is right here. However, now this is showing that what will happen is it's coming under scrutiny, it says, because it's set to decommission its physical network. Its subscribers will be connected by AT&T's infrastructure, blah, 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 blah. Hold on, let's see, where is it? The new hybrid mobile network operator and satellite service mechanism is a big unknown. It could relegate rural Americans to subpar service, because now they're saying this is, you have AT&T owning a whole bunch of the spectrum, and you have EchoStar owning a whole bunch of the spectrum, and the spectrum that they use that they're communicating from space to Earth is now largely controlled by one entity. And, when you have other groups like Amazon Kuiper, and you've got, Hughes, you had EchoStar, you've got, there's a handful of them that are out there that are operating in space. When you have all these, they're operating, and you only have a couple people that own access to the frequency, then it's kind of rough. Look at this. This is from May. Elon Musk SpaceX was misleading federal regulators in a bid to gain access to the airwaves, because they had this big fight. There's this big FCC fight going on between Echo not wanting to share the spectrum or user spectrum, and then SpaceX saying, hey, we want to be able to use this spectrum, but they're the only license holder. Can we make more available? Now they own all of it. So this goes back to the whole monopolization question. Is it good for a single operator to own as much of the spectrum as SpaceX does and as AT&T does? Is that a good thing for the American consumer? And does it limit us from being able to have choice? And I think that's the big question that everybody's asking. Not to get political, but we are in a spot right now where it feels like the administration that we have isn't necessarily concerned about consumer choice as much as they're very pro-business group that we have in the administration of the FCC right now. So I think that isn't going to lend itself to value for the end user as much as it is for the people in the marketplace, for the people that are the vendors providing it. So that's interesting. So that happened this week, in the last couple of weeks. Another thing that happened this week that was horrendous, and I hope that everyone that's listening to this is aware of what was going on and what happened with all this. But Salt Typhoon was pretty epic, man. And if you aren't familiar with what Salt Typhoon was or is, it's important to people that probably listen to this podcast because it's right in our wheelhouse. And I'm going to skip through this. On the Forbes article, it does a really good job talking about it. FBI and allied international intelligence agencies have declared that the Salt Typhoon cyber campaign is now a national defense crisis after uncovering widespread infiltration of global telecommunications networks by Chinese state-backed hackers. Now, check this out. Let's dig into the details. In one of the most sweeping espionage operations ever exposed, Salt Typhoon actors compromised core routers and management planes that carry the world's internet traffic. Sensitive data belonging to millions of Americans were stolen. So let's keep in mind what they did here. They didn't bust into a computer. They didn't bust into a server. They busted into network devices. And when they busted into those network devices, and they did this years ago, and they've been sitting on it, we just basically found out, it was pretty epic, right? Sensitive data belonging to millions of Americans were stolen, communications were surveilled, and the integrity of the global networks was quietly undermined across at least 80 countries. 80 countries. How did they do it? Oh my God. It's like, I can't even believe how they did it because it's something that seems like it's so basic that it's like, oh my God, they actually did that and they got away with it. Let's see if they talk about it here. They gained access by exploiting widely known vulnerabilities in networking equipment, including Avanti Connect Secure, Palo Alto, and Cisco IOS XE. You know, none of the major ones, just the absolutely biggest, most major ones. No evidence of zero-day exploits. Oh, good. The attackers succeeded because organizations failed to patch. Look at that. That's all I did, just failed to patch. Negligence, not novelty, opened the door. And that is such a big deal because it was people who just didn't update their networks. And how did they break into it? Look at this. Once inside, Salt Typhoon operators altered ACLs, access controls lists, create privilege accounts, and enabled remote management on unusually high ports. They just went in and they turned on remote management, but they stuck it on a port way up where nobody was looking. Are you ready for this? Look at this. They activated hidden services such as the iOS XR SSH listener port on 57722, giving them stealthy long-term access. Dude, an SSH listener cranked open on iOS XR, whatever, way up high where no one's looking at the ports. Oh my God. And then look at this. This is the best. The attackers mirrored traffic through SPAN, RSPAN, and ERSPAN to quietly monitor communications. They harvested administrator credentials via TACAX Plus. They pivoted across provider-to-provider links and downstream networks, then exfiltrated the data through GRE and IPsec tunnels, carefully designed to blend with legitimate traffic. They nailed up tunnels and they popped all the traffic out of there. So as a network administrator looks out and they go, oh yeah, dude, there's just some VPN tunnels that are going across that. You know, no big deal. GRE's running fine. IPsec tunnels are running fine. Everything looks like it's legit. Don't know what's on 57.722, but I mean, whatever. Holy moly. Dude, span ports? Are you serious? Span port. So if you don't know what a span port is, it's basically a mirrored port on your network device. You can take two ports and you can say, hey, port A, all the traffic that's coming out of port A, just mirror it, span it across there, make it part of it. Let's just mirror all the traffic that's going on there. Dude, it's all of the data. It's all of the data. It's not like a subset of the data. It's just all of it. And they were just taking all of the data that was coming on a port and they were just piping it out to God knows where. And they were doing it for God knows how long. The campaign didn't focus on quick financial gain. Salt Typhoon targeted telecom carriers, government system, transportation hubs, lodging networks, and even military infrastructure. The goal was clear: enable continuous surveillance of people, communications, and movement across the globe. The FBI has notified hundreds of victims. It spans more than 80 countries. And they're saying that, well, how do you look out for it? Look for SSH services ending in 22. Double encoded requests targeting Cisco IOS XE. Packet captures with names like tac.pcap. Look for redirections of TACAX Plus traffic. The advisory panel is, the advisory provides a robust set of indicators for compromise, including IP addresses dating back to 2021. Name a website that you went to in 2021. Name a website that you went to in 2021 that you don't go to anymore. And think about that. That's data that has been traversing the internet. Think about what you did when you were in a hotel in 2021 and the websites and the credentials and everything that you were using 4 years ago, and realize that data was now sucked away and piped out to somebody far, far away. It's pretty insane what Salt Typhoon did. It's a national defense crisis. And there's a lot that happened with that, and it was all because people didn't patch their equipment. So if you haven't patched your equipment, let this be a clear signal that you need to do it. There's been lots of data breaches lately. There's been a lowered cybersecurity defense, posture in the United States. It's up to individual network administrators. It's up to the people that are listening to this to make sure that your equipment is patched and making sure that your equipment is secure. If there's one thing that we've learned over the last 6 months is that the administration that's out there right now may be pro-business, but they are not pro-cybersecurity. It is up to you to make sure that your network doesn't get affected. So please be diligent about updating and upgrading your equipment. That is my spiel on Salt Typhoon. Let's see what else is going on. Back on the space front, lots of stuff happening in space. Amazon Kuiper has announced it's going into Vietnam, a $570 million investment with more satellites being pushed up there with Kuiper. It doesn't say the numbers that they're at right now with where Kuiper is. I wonder how many they have going over there. Starlink is authorized to provide blah, 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 600,000 subs, but no data on the Kuiper stuff. So Kuiper's coming along. One of the leads of it posted a video on LinkedIn and showed 2 gigabit service downlink from Kuiper right now. And that's really cool. It's neat to watch the constellation delivering over 2 gig of access today. Now with the new spectrum acquisition, everything that's going on with SpaceX and with Starlink and with EchoStar, man, I wonder what that's going to look like. They had a pretty cool video of their lasers connecting the other day, by the way, which is pretty neat. So it's going to be really cool to see where global connectivity goes in the future. Now, something that isn't on there, let me look this up. I saw this on Broadband Breakfast, I think. There is some back and forth about, let me see here, see if I can find it. Some back and forth about changing the description of what broadband means in the United States. Let me see if I can find it. FCC may increase broadband speed benchmark. No, that's not it. FCC to eliminate speed goal. That's not it. There was something that came up with the FCC where they were debating changing. Here it is. Yep, it was on Broadband Breakfast. Let me share this out real quick. Let's see. FCC proposal to scale back broadband standards draws fire. As it prepares to enter its broadband deployment report, the FCC is confronting sharp divisions over where to scale back long-term gigabit standards. Chairman Brendan Carr's proposal narrows the scope of its Section 706 inquiry, scrapping affordability and adoption measures and rolling back the 1 gig per second, 500 meg per second long-term broadband benchmark set in 2024. They're saying, well, maybe we're not going to hit it. Now, rural cooperatives and equity groups have countered, telling the FCC it should raise, not lower its standards, with some pressing for a symmetrical 100 by 100 upload versus download benchmark for fixed broadband to support economic development in rural regions. So they're saying, well, maybe we need to drop it down from our long-term goal of a gig down, 500 up. Let's go with symmetrical 100 by 100. So lots of talk going on there, and how that affects internet service providers is really key, because if they don't have the equipment to deliver these services, then they're technically not delivering broadband services. They don't qualify for grants. They don't qualify for state funding. There's a lot of stuff that doesn't happen. In other news, alongside that, oh man, look at this. If you were tuned into the internet this past week, I hope you were able to see what Tirana introduced. Their new G2, which is their multi-frequency panel, and it supports non-line of sight, near line of sight, and line of sight communications. It's backwards compatible with their G1 stuff. So if you're an internet service provider and you have a whole bunch of subscribers out there and they're already using the old remote node, you don't have to go upgrade those just yet. You can swap the panels and it'll work with it and allow you to add and continue and upgrade them when you need to. What's really, really great about this panel is where it pushes the boundaries in rural connectivity. Because when you think about what's happening in rural connectivity, it's not just the echo stuff that's happening with SpaceX, and it's not just Kuiper, it's not just all the low Earth orbiting satellite stuff. It's also about traditional, terrestrial microwave and how people can consume that. Because from a cost perspective, from an operator side, operators can do this. You can still set up a WISP. You can still set up your local internet service provider and provide access in your area. Now, is Starlink going to take away from that? I think that's still yet to be seen. I don't know how many operators are feeling the pinch from Starlink. It's probably a lot. Starlink keeps amassing these huge numbers that are coming out there, but then the one thing that you hear is that the speeds aren't what the speeds used to be. So are they going to continue to flip-flop on their speeds, or are they going to allow for true growth and people to consume it, especially if the FCC is sitting here moving the goalposts on what broadband quote unquote constitutes. So what makes this great is this is still a product that's absolutely viable. This is something that people can deploy as an operator that they can put out there and use. 6.4 gig of capacity on the base node, right? Up to 2,048 customers per site, 512 per sector on a single installation, 160 megahertz in 4 separable carriers across unlicensed and licensed band. Now, what that means is they've got 3.5 gig at CBRS, they've got 5 gig, and they've got 6 gig, and they can combine multiple carriers from multiple frequencies to provide better access and a better user experience at that remote node, which is really awesome. Distributed massive MIMO architecture. I think these are I think it was like 6x6, and the joke was that they had to add 2 more. It was 4x4, then they had to add 2 more into it. It was a great presentation. And if you've ever had a chance to listen to Basil from Tirana, it's so much fun to just watch him on stage. Not someone I've gotten the chance to hang out with yet, but hopefully someday in the future I'll get to kick it with him. His stage presence is so cool, and the way that he talks about his product, you should really go listen to it. Tirana does a really good job of just being honest and upfront and bold and blunt about what they're doing, and they don't sugarcoat it, and they don't make shit up. They just tell you what it is, how it works, why it works, and what it's going to do for you. Now, it's expensive as hell. It's like 30 grand for their new panel compared to buying a freaking Ubiquity, whatever that you stick up on a tower, but it delivers incredible results. So if you get a chance, go watch it. Go to Tirana Wireless, Tarana wireless.com, and go look up their G2 product line and see what it does. It's really, really neat. And they've got, if you're watching on the webcast here, they've got, testimonials from everybody. Everybody who's one of these larger wireless ISPs has either tested this out or know someone who's tested this out, because it is a revolutionary thing when it comes to terrestrial wireless. So kudos to the team at Tirana for getting that out there and getting that product out in the market. It's really, really neat to see. Oh, man. What else do we have? MWC 25 is coming up in Las Vegas. It's Mobile World Congress. That is coming up here pretty soon. It says MWC 25, delivered in partnership with CTIA, meets this pressing need head on for tech leaders that aren't just looking for inspiration. They're looking for expertise, content, and networking, according to RCR Wireless. 2025 themes: from tech's vision to execution, connected industries with 5G and IoT, AI plus, how is AI helping everything, connected enablers with API, cloud native infrastructure, MCP. I wonder if MCP is going to be talked about in there at all. But this used to be, dude, I used to love going to CTIA. CTIA was one of my favorite shows to go to, man. You would see everything there. I was talking to my wife the other day, and I was talking about the first blog that I ever put up such a long time ago, long time ago. And it was right at the time that Richard Branson was giving a keynote at CTIA. And he talked about this plan to go to Mars. And everyone was like, oh, is he kidding? Is he not kidding? And everyone just wrote it off as an April Fool's joke, and ends up, obviously, wasn't kidding, with Virgin Galactic coming afterwards, and then SpaceX, and then all the other things. But that used to be such a fun, big event. And, Mobile World Congress happening in Barcelona every year is the big one for mobile there. But it's been a while since I've been to MWC in the Americas. So I wonder if that one is going to be Mobile World Congress Las Vegas. It was a fun one when I used to go. I miss Supercom. What was your favorite show? I'm trying to think. If you had to think your favorite trade show, man, Comdex, right? What was your favorite show that you've ever been to? What was your favorite trade show? I got to think on that one because there were some really good ones, man. Interop used to be so great when you had everybody working together. ISP Summit was another good one. Broadband Wireless World was great when that industry and WiMAX was just coming up, and LTE. Those are good shows. But I still got to hand it to WLPC. But even though WLPC isn't a trade show, it's a meeting. It's a meeting place. I don't know what my favorite trade show is. CES, I guess I'm going to stick with CES. I go to it every year. I enjoy CES. It's a good time. If you go this year, we're going to be doing some pretty awesome stuff there with the crew that I'm working with. That's a great show. What's your favorite show? I don't know. Answer in the comments. What's up, chat? Answer in the chat. Oh, that's about, when I think about what's going on, those are the things that are top of mind for me. HPE Juniper, he says. Their new line of access points. Let's see if I can dig this up. Their self-driving network operations. Dude, these are the things that when they first talked about it, when they first talked about GreenLake and what it could do, and about how we were on our way to self-driving access points or self-driving networks via the access points, was like, someday we'll get there. And now they're sitting here talking about agentic AI. They're talking about Marvis Minis. They're talking about the missed capabilities and what they're doing. Marvis Actions dashboard now supports autonomous remediation of more network issues, including misconfigured ports, capacity issues, and non-compliant hardware with full IT oversight. So it gives you the ability to watch it drive. It's incredible to think that that's where they are. They're finally at a point where they're allowing those actions to take place and those actions to affect your network in real time. And it's neat to see. It's already been proven that this stuff works, but at this scale, at HPE scale, it's pretty cool to see what they're doing. They do have some new APs that are out there. Let's see if I can dig up that. Let's see if we can dig up those new HPE Aruba. It's the Mist 36. I think that's what it was. They've got a new one that's out there that's pretty cool looking. Someone did a comparison online. Anyway, if you want to take a look, please take a look at that and go see what they're up to. Just because it's neat. It's neat what they're doing. They're coming along. They're coming along nicely. But I gotta say, you knew this was coming. I gotta say, if you want to see something that's really pushing the edge and really pushing the envelope, I still have such a soft spot for Meter, man. And granted, I do appreciate Meter doing all the things that they do. Meter is a wonderful sponsor of the Waves podcast. They've stuck with me through thick and thin on this thing, and they've given me access to just about everything that I need in order to understand what they do and how they do it. And what they continue to do is just incredible. Incredible. Look at this, right? If you're looking at the screen right here, this is, it's their dashboard where they say, create an SSID named Globex, assign it to VLAN private, enable WPA2, and limit bandwidth to 100 megabit on the primary network. And you click a button and it does it. Canvas is such an incredible thing. Command, powered by Canvas, is such an incredible thing. They've got here on their website, they're showing their installations everywhere. It's just really great what they're bringing to, what they're bringing to the industry. And if you want to see it, they have an event that's coming up, and I have a code that I can't remember. I think it's like Waves or Wireless Nerd or something. Just text me if you want the code. That knocks your price to free, so it saves you a whole bunch of money. But Meter Up is coming. Meter.com/meterup, and they've added some new feature speakers since the last time we talked. So if you're looking at the screen, you can see that Satya Nadella is there, CEO and chairman of Microsoft. Sanjit Biswas, from CEO and co-founder of Samsara, and also former CEO and co-founder of Meraki. Kate Johnson, CEO of Lumen, and now Bob Metcalf, the inventor of Ethernet, is there. What, dude? Like what? What is this lineup of speakers at Meter Up? This is going to be pretty nuts, man. The ticket price right now is $349. Hit me up if you want that offer code. I'll be happy to share it with you. It's November 18th. It's happening in San Francisco. If you can get out there for Meter Up. You have a lot to listen to from some of the people that helped establish what we're doing today and the people that are taking it forward. And it's going to be an interesting event to learn about the insights that these people bring to the table. This group of people is bringing something to the table that they're going to talk about the future of networking. They're going to talk about the future of the internet. at Meter Up, you're going to learn about where this is all going and why it's going there and how it's going there. And it's not just Meter that's going there. All the organizations are falling into place behind what this vision is. And it's incredible to see the lineup of people there, from the CEO of Microsoft, the CEO and co-founder of Samsara, who started Meraki, to Bob Metcalf, and then to Kate, on how this is going to move and what's going to happen as these networks grow. It's going to be an incredible event, and there's going to be some really cool learning, and you're going to walk away inspired by what you see. And it doesn't matter if you work for a different vendor, and it doesn't matter if you work in a different place of the industry. What matters is that this is going to be a glimpse into the roadmap of the future, and it happened. It just might so happen that these guys are doing that, or maybe they're not even doing it yet. But it is incredible to be in the room where it happens, to quote Hamilton. You want to be in the room where it happens, and if you're sitting in the room, even if you're not part of the organization that's hosting the event, even if you don't work for them, even if you work for someone else, this is guaranteed to spark interest in what the future of our entire industry is. And that's why I'm stoked about Meter Up. That's why I don't mind talking about it. It's incredible to have all of this conversation happen in one place at one time. That one place is at Meter Up. That one time is November 18th in San Francisco. Hit me up for a discount, because I'll be happy to share that with you. So I really look forward to seeing you there. All of the people on my news feed are going to be there. So for me, it's great because I get to see all my friends. Now, if I could just keep quiet the whole time, that's even better, because last year I was just like raising my hand. I wasn't even raising my hand. I was just blurting out questions. But I get a little excited. And I hope that you can understand my enthusiasm for what's going to happen there. So that being said, I think I'm going to go ahead and wrap this for the day, for the week. I've got a lot of travel coming up. I'm going to try and cut some live shows this week. I'm going to try and do some neat stuff. I am headed out tomorrow, which is totally weird because I don't travel on weekends. I've got this deal with my wife where I don't travel on weekends unless it's important, unless there's something really happening. And then if I have to travel, I bring her with me. I burn miles. I do what I need to do to get my wife out there with me, so that as soon as the conference is done, as soon as the show's done, as soon as the meeting's done, I can go have a moment with her. But our work schedules, I live in a house where both of us travel a lot for work. So she's out right now. Actually, her plane lands in like an hour. I got to go pick her up at the airport, and then I'm out tomorrow. But this week, Saturday night, Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday morning, I'm going to be in Orlando at the Gaylord Palms at FS Tech. Now, FS Tech is the food service industry technology conference, food service tech and food service innovation. And if you saw the video that I did about the Five Guys burger joint in Vegas, if you've ever followed me, you know that I love restaurant technology. I love retail technology, restaurant technology, because it's the place where what we do at home and what we do at enterprise and what we do at corporate, it's where you get to experience it, and it gets to affect your daily life every day, because it's the stuff that you interact with, the food service, the retail, whatever it is. It's the stuff where technology has to work in order for people to make money. So FS Tech is a pretty big one when it comes to this. It's going to be pretty neat. It shows that they've got a whole bunch of attendees that are showing up, lots of sponsors and exhibits, lots of speakers that are out there. Also, y'all, this is just from a registration side, I'm not gonna lie, this was expensive to get into. It was $5,000 for the registration fee, which is kind of nuts. I've been to a lot of trade shows, and this one was pricey, man. But to have that many attendees spending that much money to go to this event, that's saying something. So if you happen to be at FS Tech, give me a shout, man. Let me know. I would love to learn from other people who are embedded in the space of some of the things that they're seeing. And I'd love to learn more about the technology and what's happening from the eyes of other people other than me. Because I've got my camera lens, but I don't want to just focus on the things I do. I want to learn from other people. So please, if you're going to be at FS Tech, reach out to me. And it's going to be really neat to see what technology, what innovation, what people are talking about, what all the buzz is at food service. So that's happening. I'll be there for the next couple of days, and then I've got a couple of meetings. And then next week on the 19th, I'm going to West Texas. I'm disappearing. I'm out of here. It's my birthday on the 21st. I'm ditching everything, and I'm going to go cruise around West Texas because that's my happy place. If you happen to be in West Texas, give me a call. Join me for a beer at Brick Vault Barbecue in Marathon, Texas. Anyway, until then, I hope to see you all at some shows. I've got some other events that are coming up that I'll start talking about later, but right now I'm not going to be at WLPC Prague. I really wish I was going to be there. I'm not going to be able to make it this year, unfortunately, but I'm really looking forward to seeing the content that comes out of there. And I would also gladly pay for a live streaming option, Keith, just so you know. I would love a live streaming option for some money. I'll be happy to pay for it just so I can not get the FOMO that I got watching Wyco London happen. Anyway, I hope you have a wonderful week. Thank you for listening to the Waves podcast. As always, thank you again to our sponsors, Helium, and to our sponsors over at Meter, and to our buddies over at NetAlly, who are always giving me some neat stuff to talk about, friends over at CEDOS, who are always supportive of the show. Thank you for listening, and I will catch you all next week, where I think I'm just going to do a live session from FS Tech.